So yes, going back to Clincher on the road. Truth be told, probably the last year and a half, I actually been riding with inner tubes on the road bike, even though the actual tires were tubeless. So I basically just came to the conclusion, if I'm not gonna take advantage of that extra 100 grams or so because of the tubeless tires, might as well go back to Clinchers. And that's what I did with this new Panaracer AGXERO. Yes, that's what it is, and as you can maybe see in specs, these are 30mm tires, claimed weight of 260 grams, and have some tubeless tires in the same size. I thought we just compare the weight and see what kind of weight sharing we can do, going from tubeless setup to clincher setups with TPU tubes. But yeah, let's first take a closer look at these brand new Panaracers. And if you've seen videos of me weighing in Panaracers before, I've always mentioned this. The reason I have so much love for Panaracers is because these are made in Japan. It also means price-wise, an economical bit. They're just such a no-brainer. If I compare this to, for example, Continental or Pirelli and stuff like that. Continental, I think I found the GP 5000 STR here for about 10,000 yen. The Pirelli P0 is even more expensive. I think the last ones I had was, I want to say 12,000 yen for one tire. These I can get for 6,000 yen for like one tire. So that's the reason. And I also don't know if it's because they're made in Japan, they actually feel like they're made for the roads here compared to, say, Continental, which basically takes about 3 or 4 rides and then I slice the sidewall. I did have both the GP5000 STR and the TR, whatever it is called, but yeah, the sidewalls bit the dust, so I'm kind of staying away from those right now. So this AGXERO is a new tire like I mentioned, but this is actually not the top of the line model. The top of the line is still the Agilist Fast. This is actually a replacement for the Agilist, the normal one, the first generation, whatever you want to call it. Let me know if you've heard this marketing jargon before. This new model has better puncture resistance and lower rolling resistance. Amazing, right? Almost unbelievable. Anyway, the one obvious difference on this new tire though is it actually have a bit of tread. Not much though, but compared to the, well, this is the Agilist Fast TLR, totally slick. The same with the original Agilist, was also totally slick. So we got some tread there. Not that that tread really do matter that much, but yeah. Anyway, let's get them on the scales. Okay, so 1 gram for the rubber band. Just need them to stay together. Minus 1 gram, so 150.5, so that's basically 9.5 grams under the weight. And that's what I like about the last couple of Panaracers I got, that all been underweight. Compared to Pirelli, for example, there's always been overweight. The second one is 256.5, so 255.5, still almost 5 grams underweight. So yeah, that's good. For reference though, like I said, this is the Agilist Fast TLR. This is basically the top of the line, but in the tubeless version. But as you can see, 282.5 and 283.5. So there's a yeah, it's a weight penalty for going tubeless. Also have a Panaracer P0 Race TLR RS, which has been superseded now by that aero thingamajig. I realized if I tear this now, I should get the complete weight, including or excluding that rubber band. So let's do that. 324 grams and 320 grams. So yeah, definitely a decent amount of weight saved. Of course, we need inner tubes as well. And in the case of tubeless tires, we need sealant. For me, I run about like 30 grams of sealant or 30 milliliters of sealant in each tire. When it comes to TPU tubes that I'm currently find very good is these purple light from Panaracer. Okay, this is starting to sound like a fucking Panaracer commercial. It's not the case. This is 40 grams, but that's with all the hardware. We definitely don't need a cap, for example, so we can remove that. 39.2. And if you want to ride it really svelte, this is what I have in my spare pack, 33 grams. That sounded light. So might be some actual variations. Now I got curious. Hold on, let me check this real quick. 37.8 and 33 point. This can't be that heavy, right? Yeah, 30. So yeah, there's some unit variation there as well, which is always annoying. While these Panaracer tubes are slightly more expensive than say the Ride Now and the Cyclami tubes, the green ones, they have a few things that I really like about them. Now you always get them with a metal stem or valve stem, and you have removable valve cores if you want to change that up. And to be fair, that you can get the metal valve stems on both Ride Now and Cyclami as well. But the thing I really like about this particular one is this little washer that goes against the rim, which is curved, so it gets a really nice fit, and quite a chunky nut as well that keeps everything secure. There's absolutely no rattle. And if you see at the bottom of the stem, it's kind of reinforced. I don't know if reinforced is the correct word, but you have here. So if you have a really shallow wheel, you can skip all these things and still not have any noticeable rattling. In my experience, I still prefer to have this, just have it secure against the rim for that extra little bit. To not make this look like a full-on Panaracer commercial, which is definitely not, because I buy all my stuff myself. Panaracer is a Japanese brand, like I mentioned, and they always seem to be a couple of years behind the rest of the world when it comes to the new trends or whatever. So these 30mm tires is actually the biggest they make. Like, they don't even have a 32 in this model, which is kind of crazy. It was kind of the same thing when disc brakes came about. It took almost 2 or 3 years before disc brakes started to show up in the bike shops around here. So they're always very conservative when it comes to the new trends. They still make this in 25. I mean, who rides a 25 now? Well, I guess all those rim brakes that are still around need those 25s, but yeah, there you go. I really wish they would do like a 35, but you can always hope they will increase and add some more sizes to the lineup. They do make this in tubeless as well, which will add another probably like 30 grams or something per tire. So there you go. So I will add up all the weights, and I can't do this in my head right now, so we put that on the screen, how much the total weight would be for the tube setup. And let's go with these, because these are so damn heavy, it's not even fair. So I will do the comparison with the AGXERO Fast TLR tubeless setup, so you can see what the weight saving are in my case. But enough about that. Let's mount these on the rims and check the actual width inflated and all that mess. Alright, so let's get these tires on. These are my extra light wheels. They have 23mm internal. Now as I mount this, I might as well address a few questions or opinions that might come up. This is definitely not a video me telling that Clinchers is the new orange or whatever. Tubeless definitely makes a lot of sense. And in most cases makes the most amount of sense. But for me, in my specific case, Clinchers actually kind of makes sense for now. So the reason I've been riding in the tubes for the last 1.5 years, something like that, is just because I couldn't decide on which tire I would stick with. Should I stick with the AGXERO Fast, or should I do the Pirelli B0 Jimmy Jamma, or something else. I kept changing tires, so just to avoid all the mess with sealant, That was the main reason. But since I got the Ari Schaefer, I've been riding that bike the vast majority of my rides. I think I have like maybe 5 or 6 rides on the road bikes in the last 6 months. Let me get my gloves for the last little bit. And when the frequency of riding is that little, it basically means you need to check your sealant every single ride or top up every other ride. So in that case, like it didn't really make sense to keep riding tubeless tires if I still just gonna use tubes anyway. And like I said, why not save a few grams if I can? But again, I'm not claiming that's the best option for everyone. In theory, tubeless is probably still the winner. Can I get this over? But there you go. Now, of course, I know there's lighter tires if you want to go clinchers than these, like 250 grams. It's not that crazy light. Even if you look in Panaracer's own catalog, they have the AGXERO Light, which is basically sub 200 grams. But just as what I mentioned, they are a little bit behind. That tire is the maximum size is 28, if I remember correctly. And also that light one is probably not what I would do for the type of riding I do, because I do long rides, and when I'm up in the mountain, I do prefer to have some kind of puncture protection. I think we're good there. So yeah, but of course you can do the same weight saving with Continental, for example. I think the original GP 5000 Clincher ones are 260 claimed, right? 260 grams claimed for the 30mm Clincher. So if you're in the Continental camp, as usual with the Panaracer tires, to have this like waxy coating on the tires, which gets all over the place when you set it up. That goes away like 10 minutes into a ride, so it's no issues. But yeah, it's a little bit annoying to work with setting up tires. So let's see. Yeah, I think we are nice and seated. So this was the spacer I was talking about. You get with the Panaracer TPU tubes. It just really slots nicely over the rim as you tighten the nut down like so. Keeps everything very nice and flush, nice and neat. And because of this quite large nut, it's easy to do with your fingers. You don't need to use any pliers or anything like that, which would make it a bit annoying out on the road if you had to remove it. So I like that. Only bummer is that I don't really have a lot of different valve stem lengths available. It's only 2, I think. It's like 65 and 85 or something like that. So as you can see, I could easily have been using like a, I don't know, maybe a 50mm stem or something like that. Anyway, that's good. So we have about 50 psi in this tire now, and the tire measures basically 30 on the dot, but this is just straight on the tire. I actually have my rear set up as well, and the rear actually have been sitting overnight, so it has been about 12 or so hours. And this has blown out to 30.3 on the dot. So yeah, they will expand a bit as usual. So I'm guessing this will land around 30.5 or something like that in the end. But as expected, like I said, this is 23mm internal rims. With a wider rim, it would probably give you another millimeter or so. Yeah, there you go. So after a few rides out on the roads, I can basically say it feels exactly what I would expect for a 30mm road tire at about like 45 psi. Only thing that really stands out when I compare this to the outgoing AGXERO, which this replaces, is that this rides quieter. The original AGXERO was, yeah, basically one of the most noisy slicks I've ever ridden. I think the only noisier slicks I've ridden is the actual Gravel King slicks, which also very, very noisy on tarmac. So for me, that's definitely an improvement. When it comes to rolling resistance, I can't say anything. I can definitely not feel anything. So I guess you just have to wait until someone puts this in a lab, if that is what tops your priority lists. But when it comes to the top models of all these brands I've tried, I guess I'm just not sensitive enough to the minute differences that might or might not be there. I honestly can't tell much of a difference at all, at least when keeping it in the same size. Maybe if I roll them back to back like pit stop style, I could say something with more confidence, but one day to another on a new tire, ignoring the I got a new tire placebo feeling, they all feel good, they're all fast, and they all have good enough grip, because yeah, I'm not even close to pushing these beyond the limit these days. I'm getting too old. So when people say like tires is the best upgrade you can do to a bike, and I would agree if we're talking going from an entry-level tire to one of the top-level tires. But if you're in the top echelon, yeah, for me, I'm apparently not sensitive enough for that. I do find reasons to change tire without much problem though. The Agilest Fast that I showed earlier in this video, it only comes in black, and for my titanium bike, tan walls look so much better. So that was, yeah, one reason there. The problem with the P0 Race TLR RS, well, the weight of course. Not that I could really tell that out on the road. Again, no rhyme or reason. But weight has always been a bug for me, as you might know. And of course, also as I explained before, I've been on TPU tubes the last like 1.5 years. So why keep riding tubeless tires? You know what I mean? And this new AGXERO kind of ticked the boxes on weight. It looks excellent, especially on this bike. And an improvement on puncture resistance, which I obviously have to take their word for. But it's a welcome improvement when I'm 100k into a ride in the mountain all by myself. Last but not least, as I mentioned, the price here in Japan is very attractive on basically all Panaracers. If I lived in Europe or the US, for example, that probably wouldn't be the case. So if this would be my first pick, I can't say. All right, I need to get home now because I'm 197k into this ride. 3,768 meters of climbing. I'm starting to get a bit tired and I still have some meters to climb still. Fun. Well, it's a good ride to test the tires at least. Catch you next one. Peace! So you know what to say about weight with the handlebars and the flexiness of them? How about this? Flexy enough? Ooh.